Continuation of Tao of Jeet, page number 66. Counter time. It is not wise at all to attack without first having gained control of the opponent's movement, time, or hand position. Thus, a smart fighter uses every means at his disposal patiently and systematically to draw the stop hit. It brings the adversary's hand or leg within his reach and gives him the opportunity to gain control of it. The second intention attack or counter time is premeditated movement generally used against a fighter who has formed the habit of continually attempting stop hits or who attacks into the attack. That is to say, one who launches an attack as soon as his opponent makes any offensive moment.
May I actually elaborate on that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing to launch an attack as soon as you feel basically your opponent is going to attack you? I don't understand it, so I'm asking you to elaborate.
The second intention or attack or counter time is a premeditated movement generally used against a fighter who has formed the habit of continually attempting stop hits or who attacks into the attack. That is to say, one who launches an attack as soon as his opponent makes any offensive moment. I don't think he's like saying anything's bad. He's just defining what counter time is. That's all he's saying. He's just explaining.
More like a response to a response.
Yeah.
But quick.
He's talking about counter time.
Yeah.
And he's talking about when is a good time to use counter time.
Okay.
Counter time is the strategy by which an opponent is induced or provoked to attack in tempo, with the object of counter timing or alternatively taking possession of the opposing hand or detaching it and executing a subsequent attack or riposte. It lies not so much in drawing the stop hit as in correctly timing the parry which deflects it. The speed of the opponent's reactions will have to be found and his cadence judged.
Match and overcome the counterattack. Easier said than done.
Yeah. Distance must be judged correctly to minimize the danger of being hit while within reach of the opponent in order to land the final movement of the counter time sequence, the riposte. The success of a counter time movement largely depends on concealing one's real intentions and inducing the opponent to make his stop hit with conviction, so that he has little opportunity to recover when it is parried before the riposte lands.
Wait, so does that mean continued counterattack, or is there like some kind of, is that a indication of prelude to a diversion or something?
So, he's just talking about concealing your movements.
So you're still on the attack.
And then waiting for the person to do a stop hit, and then responding back with your counter. The stop hit may be drawn in a variety of ways. By use of invitation, simply exposing targets, by intentionally uncovered feints.
Veins?
Feints.
Feints, oh, okay.
By making false attacks with a half lunge or merely by stepping forward. It might be wise to riposte with opposition by immobilizing the opponent's stop hit or alternate weapons, or by attacking in an evasive manner, from varying body positions or using other than direct attacks. Watch out for his purposely launching a stop hit as a feint, or he will parry the riposte and score with the counter riposte. He might induce one to use counter time by showing an apparent predilection for stop hitting. Attacks and ripostes, however well designed and executed, will generally fail unless they are delivered at the right moment, timing, and at the right speed, cadence. A simple example of the right choice of time is provided by an attack by disengagement. From the normal en-garde position, a disengagement can be parried by a lateral movement of the hand, which travels a matter of a few inches, while the attacker's hand has to travel several feet to reach the target. Under these conditions, the fastest attack should be parried by an even, slow defensive movement. This disparity in time will be aggravated if the attack is directed on the side of the target toward which the defender's hand is already moving to close the line.
So your counter parry by just changing the cadence, is that? You're throwing your opponent off by changing the cadence or something? Did I get that right? Which makes sense.
It is obvious that the attack should be timed to move toward a part of the target from which the opponent's hand is moving. That is, into opening rather than a closing line, if it is to have the best chance of overcoming the disadvantage of time and distance to which it is always subject. Similarly, an excellent moment to launch an attack is when the opponent is preparing an attack. His attention and hand movements will then be momentarily concentrated more on attack than defense. An attack on preparation is often effective against an opponent who maintains a particularly accurate distance measure and who is difficult to reach because he keeps just out of attacking the distance whenever an offensive movement is made. The attack can be made after the opponent has been drawn within the distance and induced to prepare an attack by a short step back. An attack on preparation must not be confused with an attack into an attack. The former is made during the preparation and before the opponent's attack begins, while the attack into an attack is in fact a counter-offensive movement. very exact choice of distance and careful timing is required if the attack on preparation is to obtain priority in time over the opponent's attack.
I like the fact that he differentiated between the two, because when you first said the first part of that, I thought he meant attack pretty much during the attack, but he emphasized during the preparation of the attack, not during the attack.
Yeah.
So in essence, I would take it we're looking for different things when using that approach.
Yeah. Attitude. The state of the athlete's mind as he faces his event determines the degree of excess tension he will carry into the event. The athlete free from excess tension as he awaits his performance is typically self-confident. He has what is commonly known as a winning attitude. He sees himself as master of the athletic situation confronting him. To many athletes, being a champion is a matter of psychological necessity, fed by previous successes and having completely rationalized previous failure. He feels himself a triton among minnows. As an event approaches, an athlete often notices a feeling of weakness in his midsection, butterflies in the stomach, feels nauseated, and may vomit. His heart pounds. He may experience pain in his lower back. The experienced athlete recognizes these sensations not as an inner weakness, but as an inner surplus. These signs indicate a preparedness for violent activity. In fact, the athlete who expresses a feeling of euphoria before an event is probably in a poor state of readiness. Many athletes call it adrenal burden, a condition affected by adrenaline activity, augmented by the stimulating effect of the competitive situation. If emotional control is not well learned, critical moments in the fight when the emotional tension is highest result in loss of skill by the fighter. His muscles suddenly must work against his own over-tense antagonistic muscles. He becomes stiff and clumsy in his movements. Expose yourself to various conditions and learn.
That part right there, you mind if I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
It makes me think of, I have to read something about Muhammad Ali and his fight with Sonny Liston. Fight where he won the championship. They say he was pretty calm leading into it. He was not overconfident. And Sonny Liston was overconfident walking into the fight, thinking he had won in 2 rounds. I think that's like a prime example of what Bruce was talking about.
Experience shows that an athlete who forces himself to the limit can keep going as long as necessary. This means that ordinary effort will not tap and release the tremendous store of reserve power latent in the human body. Extraordinary effort, highly emotionalized conditions, or true determination to win at all costs will release this extra energy. Therefore, an athlete is actually as tired as he feels, and if he is determined to win, he can keep on almost indefinitely to achieve his objective. The attitude, you can win if you want to badly enough, means that the will to win is constant. No amount of punishment, no amount of effort, no condition is too tough to take in order to win. Such an attitude can be developed only if winning is closely tied to practitioners' ideals and dreams.
No off too tough.
The practitioner must learn to perform at top speed at all the time, not to coast with the idea that he can open up when the time comes. The real competitor is the one who gives all he has all the time. The result is that he works close to his capacity at all times, and in so doing, forms an attitude of giving all he has. In order to create such an attitude, the practitioner must be driven longer, harder, and faster than normally would be required. Use attitude to create. Evasiveness with very light movement, but not passive. Devastating attacks. Speed. Natural dynamics. Deception and slipperiness. Stickiness and directness. Complete ease. Tools. Before I studied the art, a punch to me was just a punch. A kick was just a kick. After I studied the art, a punch was no longer a punch, a kick no longer a kick. Now that I understand the art, a punch is just a punch, a kick is just a kick. Western boxing is too overdaring because of restrictions on illegal and unfair tactics as compared to the overprotectiveness of the Oriental martial arts caused by the no-hold-barred, full bodily target. In addition, the no-contact practice of stopping the attack several inches in front of the target in the Oriental martial arts creates a habitual false sense of distance. From this dust-waving act in front of a moving target, rather than the timed explosion through a moving target, springs negligence in the practice of evasive tactics. The evasive tactics are so much a part of an aggressive art such as boxing. Slips, ducks, weaves are all sort of aggressive defense without moving the body out of range. In realistic total fighting, we must embody the practical elements of both of the above tactics. We must use range as a protective device as well as the use of evasive tactics of infighting. Neither by itself is reliable enough for success in total fighting. Evasive tactics combined with the punishment can be applied in no-hold-barred fighting during the opponent's final extended commitment and during the gaps between two progressive exertions toward you. These tactics will serve to take the play away from an aggressor or will initiate grappling. In boxing, it is a correct maxim that a good offense is the best defense. A good offense consists of leads, false moves, and counterpunches supported by mobility, pressure, and generalship. A good boxer is able to beat his opponent to the punch with lightning-fast leads and draw out his opponent's counterpunches with feints in such a way as to make the counterpunches miss. The opponent's miss leaves him out of position and an easy target for a counterpunch from the boxer doing the leading.
And something like that.
Yeah.
That actually gets me to think of early Mike Tyson. A lot of people remember his knockouts, but a lot of people forget why he was so good at knocking people out. Because he'd make his opponent take the lead, throw out there, pretty much try to strike him, he'd move, leaving him wide open for the knockout. Which I think Bruce is pretty much putting into perspective, like why it's so effective.
Yeah. It is the ability to outsmart an opponent, outmaneuver him, that is the skill and science of sport of boxing. To have this ability, you must understand hitting and kicking, and the different types of blows and kicks there are, and when and where each type is best put to use. You must develop combinations of punches and or kicks that work well. As a result of long practice, you must become able to put your full weight and strength into your punch and kick. You must deliver the right blow at the proper time automatically. When you have developed hitting and kicking into something automatic, it will become instantaneous and your mind will be free to plan your battle as the fight progresses and new situations arise. You can only reach this point of development if you have been willing to do the necessary training. The training grind is the most valuable thing boxing has to offer.
You said the training grind?
The training grind.
Running, punching, working out.
See, one thing I want to mention, we're at page 72, and this is Bruce Lee's method, and you see how much he's talked about boxing. He barely even mentioned Wing Chun. You know, like it just shows how much boxing had an influence on him. But then everybody associates him with Wing Chun all the time, which I don't understand. It's like there's too much credit given to Wing Chun, but then in his own words, he's talking about boxing all the time. So it just shows you how effective boxing is and how there shouldn't be credit given to just one, the style of which he started with or whatever the case may be. The elements of attack are all used to carry the attack through strategy, requiring speed, deception, timing, and judgment. They are all the tools of the master craftsman who blends them into perfect attacks. Attack by deception, especially, is the attack of the master. The master boxer has at his command techniques that bewilder and confuse the opponent, thereby creating many openings. He feints his opponent into knots. He combines hitting with feints in such a manner that both appear to be the same. He draws his opponent to him, forcing whatever he desires. Through defensive hitting and judicious movement, he keeps his opponent off balance. The master boxer has the ability to get in close and understands the value of infighting. He has so perfected the shift that is used for attack as well as defense. Finally, he is the master of counterfighting, for he knows when to attack and when to allow attack. Scientific attack, then, is no simple matter, but requires years of study and practice for its successful use. In the process of attack, there are 4 basic methods that you can use often: leading, feinting, drawing, and infighting.
I got a silly question. What does he mean by drawing?
He actually explains each one coming up.
Okay.
Leading. The master of attack must know the value of a straight lead. He must know what is liable to happen on any lead. He realizes that for every lead, there's an opening, and for every opening, a counter, and for every counter, a parry or a counter time. These things he understands, but he also knows how and when to lead with comparative safety. Leading with the forward lead hand, guarding with the rear hand, while moving to the side, makes negligible any opening that ordinarily results from a straightforward lead with the hand. Feinting. Feinting is a characteristic of the expert fighter. It requires using the eyes, the hands, the body, and the legs in a single effort to deceive an opponent. These movements are really decoys, and if the opponent attempts to adjust his defense, the expert takes advantage of the openings created. Feinting is also used to certain what the opponent's reaction will be to each movement. Feinting creates only momentary openings. To be able to take advantage of these openings means instant reflex action or foreknowledge of what openings will be created by certain feints. Such familiarity is presupposed by practice, for only through the actual practicing of many feints against many kinds of opponents may a general reaction tendency be determined. If an opening is created by a certain feint, that opening should not be used until a clean, sure blow will result. A good fighter knows what openings will result before he feints and makes use of his knowledge by initiating his follow-up action almost before the opening results. Whenever two fighters of equal speed, strength, and skill are matched, the one who is the master of feint will be the winner. But he said whenever two fighters of equal speed, strength, and skill are matched, how often is that? It's almost impossible. How can people be exactly the same speed, exactly the same strength, exactly the same skill? You know, like, feinting is a part of the combination of importance. But everybody's so different that no two people will ever be the same, you know? So, you know. The essential elements in feinting are rapidity, change, deception, and precision, followed by clean, crisp blows. Feints used too often in the same way will enable the opponent to time them for a counterattack, thus defeating their very purpose. Feints against the unskilled are not as necessary as against the skilled. Many different combinations of feints should be practiced until they are natural movements. Alright, the next one is what you're talking about, drawing. Drawing is closely allied to feinting. Whereas in feinting, an opening is created. In drawing, some part of the body is left unprotected in order that a particular blow will be led by the opponent, thus developing the opportunity to use a specific counter. Feinting is only a part of drawing. Drawing uses the method of strategy and the method of crowding or forcing, being able to advance while apparently open to attack, but ready to counter if successful, is a phase of fighting that few ever developed. Many fighters refuse to lead. Then, to be able to draw or force a lead becomes very important. Get that?
I got it.
Not really. I mean, I think I'm kind of like, yeah, hot, cold, I'm lukewarm as far as understanding. I know painting and drawing are interrelated, you know.
It's like leaving an opening purposefully and then anticipating what attack that they're going to use for that opening, and then you planning your counter accordingly.
Yeah, like if you do a feign, you can do a feign like, let's say there's a certain move your opponent does. Every time he does that, you draw back a little bit. But a draw is not only do you draw back, but let's say you'll leave your flank wide open. Like you'll have like your arm up or both arms up and your side's completely open. So you're drawing him into a move.
So it's kind of like trapping.
Yeah, and you're already setting up for that attack.
Okay. So you're leaving it pretty much leaving the opening in so they can attack.
Yeah, one's kind of like, ooh, run away, and he's looking for little weakness, but the draw is like the big hole.
Right.
Muhammad Ali did it a lot.
Oh yeah, he would draw you for the whole first half, and then like
Mayweather does it too. They put their arms down.
Right.
They leave their head wide open.
Yeah.
They know, they already know what they're going to try to do, In fighting, this is the art of fighting at close range. Not only does it take skill to get in close, but it takes skill to stay there. To get inside, it is necessary to slip, bob, and weave, draw, and feint. Because of the many variables, fighting is a careful game. It should be readily understood that each hit must be painstakingly and patiently prepared. Yet it is generally fatal to start a bout with a set plan. Stay actively aware, but ever flexible. Okay, let's work on some techniques.